It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's boy Millsy, back to Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. As always, that deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. So also really appreciate if you can interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe. Check out the links down in the description. Come check me out over on X or on Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. But today, we're talking about Rakdos Scam. It's not just in Modern. Rakdos Scam is here in Commander with a really cool commander and a really memey commander, an infamous Cruelclaw. A 3-mana 3/3 Weasel Mercenary with Menace that says when it deals combat damage to a player, we can exile from the top until we hit a non-land card. We can cast that by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. A lot of ways, Cruelclaw is what I think is fun about this idea, which is you're just going to hit something up the top and you never know what it's going to be. Now, at the end of the day, just like a commander like Kinnan, which plays us a very similar concept of how it manipulates the top of your deck or carries off the top of your deck, you're only going to put things in that you really want to cast, right? And at the end of the day, when we start to talk about the things that I've put in the deck, you'll understand that we picked those. We want to hit those off the top. But in order to maximize on those, we're going to do two things. Try to make Cruelclaw unblockable so it can hit every time. It has Menace, which is actually really great. Meaning on turn 4, if we can get Cruelclaw out turn 3, we hopefully should be able to hit somebody. But if not, we're going to try to make it unblockable. We're trying to give it double strike. Try to do it twice in one turn. Twice the triggers, twice the scam. Right? Extra combats. Trying to get more combats, more hits of the Cruelclaw in to get better things. And then we're going to go through just scratching the surface of the things that you could get for free, off the top, and some fun things you can get that way. Well, how do we make it unblockable? We have things like Brotherhood Regalia to give it Ward 2 and can't be blocked. Silver Shroud costume can come in and equip for free to give something Shroud to the end of turn if somebody tries to remove it, otherwise it just can't be blocked. And then Trailblazer's Boots, non-basic Landwalk is going to hit everyone these days, everyone in Commander's playing non-basic lands. Whisper Silk Cloak, again, just straight up unblockability. And then we have 2 lands that can give unblockability some of the time. Minas Morgul will put a shadow counter on it, making sure it can block or only be blocked by creatures with shadow. And then the Black Gate, choose a player tied with the most life or has the most life. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls this turn. So potentially that first time or two we hit somebody with Cruelclaw, or if they're not taking damage, we can potentially get in unblockable. I think the unblockability is important, but I think there's only so many ways we can do it. We want to spread out what we're putting access to. And the other thing we want to care about is, well, Double Strike. Double Strike is important, and there's a little bit of it in our colors, but it's still, I don't think, our main focus for trying to get multiple Cruelclaw triggers. Lizard Blades gives it Double Strike. Embercleave can be brought in for less mana depending on how many creatures are attacking and can give it Double Strike and Trample. And then Fire Shrieker can just give it Double Strike. So again, 2 Double Strike means 2 Cruelclaw triggers potentially as it deals combat damage twice, right? But I think the big thing we care about is extra combats, because then we potentially have the chance to get two triggers within extra combat, right? 1 on the original, 1 on the extra, or potentially more, right? Depending if we have Double Strike or things like that. Carlock will give us 1 every turn as soon as we attack, and we get to untap all attacking creatures and give them first strike, so that's pretty cool. Get to protect Cruelclaw a little bit. Morag can get multiple extra combats for as many lands as we play during our main phase. Play main phase, get an additional combat, come back to main phase. If we can play another land, we can. Otherwise, it's just an extra... it's an extra combat every turn as long as we pay our landfall in main 2. Port Razor, whenever it does combat damage to a player, we untap each creature we control, and after this combat, there's another combat. So this potentially gives us a way to get potentially up to 2 extra combats, depending on how we attack and how the damage works. But we can also, with Cruelclaw's ability, just get into spells that just straight give us extra combats. Fury of the Horde, Overpowering Attack, Relentless Assault. These are all just ways to take extra combats, untap and take an extra combat. We're used to attack with Cruelclaw again. Seize the Day, Savage Beating. Again, just ways to get extra combats. With Savage Beating, we can also pay an extra 1 in a red to pay an extra 1 in a red to get both first or double strike and the unblock and the extra combat, which is good. And then aggravated assault is a repeatable extra combat thing. We can pay 5 mana a turn to get those extra combats that way. So there's a lot of options as far as extra combats go. But let's get into just some of the things we want to cheat. Hoarding Broodlord, when it comes in, lets us search for a card and exile it face down, and then we can convoke it. It's exiled and be able to play it. Shieldred the Whispering One will force our opponents to sack a creature, and during our upkeep, we can bring cards back. That's kind of important to talk about, is that we can just pitch things from our hand to Cruelclaw and then reanimate them back. It is a thing we can do. We do have a small package in here for it. Ulamog's Dreadsire taps to make Eldrazi creature tokens, which is pretty darn cool. Basically just letting it attack and then tap to make the token. So we can just potentially getting more and more 10/10s. Breach the Multiverse, everyone's going to mill 10 and we just get one thing back from everybody's graveyard. It can be brutal, depending on what we have and what our opponents have. Fevered Suspicion. Each opponent exiles from the top till they hit a non-land card. We can play them without paying their mana costs, and then it gets to rebound. So at the beginning of our next upkeep, it's going to happen again. And Garruk's Weight can destroy all creatures we don't control, and all planeswalkers you don't control. Again, just a one-sided board wipe to hurt our opponents. Blood for the Blood God, dealing 8 damage to each opponent, drawing us 8 cards after we pitch our hand, and just being overall great value. Portal Phyrexia comes in, forces sacrifice to our opponents, lets us reanimate something at the beginning of our upkeep. And then Baneful Omen's kind of fun. Being your end step, reveal the top card. If you do, each opponent loses life equal to that spell's mana value. So again, just a lot of really interesting things. This is going to seem kind of quick, because in all reality, I think you probably understand the framework of this deck. I've showed you what I've picked, extra combats, weird things to cheat out, and I think it's just time to see it in action. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, no deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at it. And these were the 3 cards that almost made the cut, but just didn't make the cut for certain reasons. Coil Rebirth makes a ton of sense. You get to bring a creature back, and if you gift a card and make a copy of it, it's a 1/1. I love it. I just wasn't sure how much Reanimate was needed, how often we're going to be pitching creatures, and I do have a bunch of other Reanimate spells in the deck, so I just wasn't sure if we needed another one. Cruelclaw's Height just felt right. I mean, our commander's on the card, right? And a little bit of hand disruption isn't ever a bad thing, but of course not as valued in Commander as it is in other formats. And then Ulamog the Defiler just feels right. I am playing some Eldrazi in the deck to my knowledge, but probably could have more of them if we jump the budget up. At the end of the day, I do try my best to brew for the channel at a relative budget, at least not too expensive. And the problem with a lot of the big Eldrazi are as well, they come with $30 or $40 or $50 price tags each, which means it can be tough to just want to do that for one when you can get so much of the other deck, so much of the deck and so many other creatures for that cost. But if you wanted to, things like Ulamog the Defiler are a great choice. A big Eldrazi that's going to really hurt your opponents. But let's get into the playtest. Let's have some fun with Cruelclaw. Let's figure out what we can do. Here we're keeping a 4-lander with Seize the Day, Call Forth the Tempest, a big board wipe spell that we would have much preferred to hit off the top, but that's okay, and Ag Assault. So we have plenty of ways for extra combats. Right now we should be able to get Cruelclaw down on 3 and look to have Cruelclaw attack on 4. So I guess we'll get the Foreboding Ruins down. Again, not much we can do here on turn 1, and that's A-okay. Turn 2, we see a Jessica's Will. Does Moracle come in tap? Moracle comes in tap, so we might as well get it in tapped here. Again, I don't really see me doing anything on turn 2, but here on turn 3, ooh, we see a Dark Ritual. I don't think there's any world where we Dark Ritual into anything more than just Cruelclaw. So let's get Cruelclaw set up here on turn 3. So then on turn 4, we're playing a land, 4 mana open, and Cruelclaw ready to go. We have a couple cards, big spells in our hand. We have some lands. We have a good mix of fun things. But I go to combat, and I have a tough time believing on turn 4 I don't have somebody I can menace hit Cruelclaw into. Again, I don't believe it unless all of our opponents are really on. I think Cruelclaw hits, and if anyone does have a creature, remember, they have to have 2 to block. So we're going to go until we hit a non-land card, and we see Bone Miser. This is a very interesting card, because whenever we pitch a creature, we make a zombie token. Whenever we pitch a land, we add double black. And whenever we pitch a non-creature non-land, we draw cards. So this is great, since Cruelclaw wants us to pitch cards to get it. I love seeing these absolute memey big mana spells. I can flashback that Seize the Day, But I could also just seize the day this turn to take an extra, take an extra combat. I think I'm gonna hit the Mother Lode to cast that Bone Miser. Now, Bone Miser, of course, won't see that. But I think what I would do is just seize the day this turn. Tap Cruelclaw, get another combat. Let's get back in. Again, I have a tough time believing we won't just hit somebody else. And we get into Bedevil. Now, it's our choice. Do we want to pitch something to cast Bedevil? If somebody really has something important, we do. Otherwise, I think we just let Bedevil go. I like the cards on my hand. I don't necessarily want to give them up for Bedevil. I don't really see the Bone Miser trigger here being that worth it. I think we just go into turn 5 with a chance to hit some different things. Reign of Glory can come in untapped, so 5 mana access to our disposal. We could use something like Jeska's Will to play something like Call Forth the Tempest. I think that might make more sense after combat, though, right? To see what we get into with Cruelclaw. So I would go into combat. Turn 5, I would still manage to believe we'd have somewhere for Cruelclaw to go. And we get a big game hunter. When it comes in, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated and has a madness cost. So at 5 mana, we can obviously go up higher. I have some big spells in the deck. Big Game Hunter, if I have something to get with Big Game Hunter, it's probably worth getting, right? If not, I think we just let it go and maybe look at something like Call Forth the Tempest this turn. So I think for the purpose of this, I'm going to let it go. We're going to play Restless Svensson tapped. Let's Jeska's Will. And I'm just going to get the 7 red. I would assume somebody has 7 cards in their hand. What Dark Ritual to make it 10, 11. Which would give me enough to Ag Assault and that. But I think I'm going to keep it in my hand. And I'm just going to play the Call Force the Tempest here. It lets me Cascade twice and then deal damage to each creature according to the mana value of all the spells. So we get Seething Song. Okay, interesting. So that adds 5 red mana. And then Ceaseless Blow. To pitch a card to draw 2 and make a treasure. So I'll pitch the Dark Ritual to draw 2, make a treasure. So that's 3, and so that's 6. And then the Jeska's Will, so that's 9 damage to each creature our opponents control. And that's pretty great. That's a great board wipe. And let's see. I don't think I pitched anything that turn to play anything. Right? We didn't play the thing that came off of Cruelclaw. So we didn't get that Bone Miser trigger. But that's A-okay. I think we still had a great turn, even though we whiffed on Cruelclaw. So we'll come into our next turn here. I don't think we want to do that. I think we want to play Morag. Right. Well, could also pitch Morag, I guess. This is where the tough part to me of Cruelclaw comes, is deciding what to pitch or not to. I think we just go to combat. Turn 6. I gotta firmly believe that we still have somewhere to get this into. We could always Minas Morgul this turn to give it Shadow if we don't. So if we do a free attack, we do it. Otherwise, we pay the 4 mana into Minas Morgul to give this a Shadow counter. But what do we get? Yeah, Ulamog's Dreadsire feels like exactly what I want to do. Let's pitch Morag to do it. That's going to make us a 2/2 zombie. And then if I had to use the Morgul, I can't do anything. But if I didn't, then I can play Relentless Assault and take another combat. And we'll see what we get into here. We would get into Baneful Omen, pitch the land, play the Baneful Omen for free. Pitching the land nets me 2 black mana. We can use that 2 black. We can't because we're in the middle of combat, but that's okay. Now we go to end step. We reveal Karlach off the top, 5 damage to each opponent. And now with Karlach next turn, right, we can start taking extra combats and having some fun. Let's get into playtest number 2. I think at the end of the day, one playtest probably shows you what we're driving at here, but it's always good to keep continuing to see more. 2-lander in hand. This is kind of an odd one, right? With Rakdos Carnarium and the Shadowblood Ridge. But let's see. We'll play the Shadowblood Ridge turn 1. Turn 2, we see the Vents, huh? Turn 2, we'll Vents. This is kind of weird. I don't think we're going to hit Cruelclaw on turn 3, but let's see what we can accomplish here. Turn 3, we see a Bone Miser. I'll go 2 into Signet, play the Carnarium, pick up the Shadowblood Ridge. I think that's where we're at this turn. Unfortunately, we got to take the turn off, but that's okay. We'll move into next turn with some more love. If I Seething Song, leaving the black open, I could Cruelclaw, and that would be it. So I think we just Shadowblood Ridge, get Cruelclaw down. With the turn 5, Minas Morgul in tapped. I could Seething Song for Terror the Peaks, which wouldn't be bad. Let's do that. Let's Terror the Peaks in off the Seething Song. Move to combat. Again, I've got to believe that I have a Cruelclaw attack. And we hit Shard of the Nightbringer. A 8 mana 8/8 says when it enters the battlefield, if we cast it, target opponent loses half their life, rounded up, we gain that much life. Now, Cruelclaw says that we can cast it by pitching a card rather than paying its cost. So I want to pitch the Big Game Hunter, play the Nightbringer, pick somebody to just nuke half their life, pick somebody to lose 8 to the Terror of the Peaks trigger, and I think we're in great shape. Move to the next turn. We have a Reanimate, so we could potentially get something back that we pitch, right? I'm a little bit off my mana for that. So I think I would just move to combat, and if Cruelclaw can't get in here, we Minas Morgul, but let's just go into the assumption that it can. For Soul Ring, Soul Ring is tempting. I'll pitch the Kozilek for it. 5, 6, 7 mana. I guess just play Bone Miser. I guess, obviously Shard and Tear the Peaks could also have attacked there. We'll go one more turn. Into turn 7, we see Virtue of Pestilence, allowing us to start reanimating a creature from our graveyard every turn. Again, if I have to Minas Morgul, or if I did Minas Morgul last turn, well, then the shadow counter is already there. If not, same thing this turn, but we'll go to combat and attack with all of our things. We get a Lightning Greaves. I think I'll happily pitch to get it, put it on Cruelclaw main 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just play the Virtue so I can start reanimating things. I think we start to get there. But let me know, what do you think of Cruelclaw? Again, I think a lot of it you get the understanding. You get that chaos, you get that fun. You can pick the things you want to hit off the top. And at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of room here for you to have the fun you want to have. Scam out a little bit and have a good time. But I'd love to hear what you think of Cruelclaw down in the comment section below, and I catch you guys next time.